rest my head, I put on it over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Be seated. Thanks. So with that refreshing, we're going to move now into some more tributes. And so Lyndon Reese, followed that here? Oh, if not, we will go to the next, Rowan Higgins, and then followed, we will continue like that.
Good morning. Good morning, saints. This is my home church. Used to be here in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. It's a blessing to see familiar faces. Also, I have to recognize those from the community, so many. When Fatima started playing that song, I was grounded. And Sherwin, thank you for lifting us up. First, I want to acknowledge what Egbert stood for when we speak about Black excellence. In a time, we can't even say when the time, in a time where we have continuously and are still being oppressed, where young Black children, even elders, have never seen their people celebrated. We honor the trailblazers. We want our young people to see that we can also be great amongst the others. And that is what he stood for. I also want to say, before any other acknowledgement paper media, like many of us, Egbert was the first to ever write my story. And before I get into my piece, I would like to address those who thought that a certain word, an endearing term, was reserved for only them. By the show of hands, how many of you were called sugar plum? So when I say my piece, please do not give me the side eye, because that is who Egbert was. He was sweet and kept the 100. I just want to give my condolences and deepest sympathies to the family, because if I'm dealing with this loss, I cannot imagine what you are feeling. When I read the news, I blinked. My brain could not interpret what my eyes was seeing. First the shock, then the what, when, how. My mind scrubbing for answers which I now know does not change the reality that we just lost our main contact to the community. I had just spoken to you a week prior asking how to submit an obituary for a lady that comes to this very church. How are we here? This event, which we would probably even think that Egbert should be at the grandest event of it all. How are we here? This has taken me down the line of the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Even we were supposed to, like, write the foreword to my book, stream another Real Talk session with Spence, Dave Shelton, and Stretch. We were supposed to. And all I hear you saying, don't worry your pretty little head, sugar plum. So with that, I flip the script and choose to celebrate life, the good memories, the fact that you probably invented selfies before selfies were even a thing. Almost every event, even if we were both on duty, in a rush, you found a moment to catch up and take a photo. Most importantly, I reflect on my respect for you, that you gave your word and you kept it, that you always showed up. You gave us a voice, shared stories that share the light of our community, stories that other papers would not dare to share. You gave us the space. You were dedicated to delivering those papers from every West Indian Black hair store, community centers, church, and even the day camps I worked at. I don't know how you made all the runs, but the papers were there without fail, right on time. It was such an integral part of being black in Montreal to grab a paper from my elders. Well, go get me a paper, no man, you only get one for yourself. Friends and coworkers, every 2 weeks, almost 3 decades later, you showed up to all of our events, right in front and behind the lens. I teased you that you were late, but I knew you were passing through from another event and you might be gone again to capture it all for the culture. You encouraged so many of us to write and submit all before Thursday. Even though I never submitted it, you always said, no pressure, Sugar Plum. I'll always remember watching you in the living room with a family who were victims of police brutality and how you came through with a quickness with a notepad and camera in hand, and after answering my hysterical call about what they had done when no one else in the community was stepping up to intervene in that moment, you did. You showed up with your voice, live and in living color, authentic and unwavering with your perspectives on topics that mattered, never switching your twang to erase where you were born, but lifted a little bit of the spice, just enough so the untrained earbuds could understand the taste of the Caribbean. Our flavor, our truth, our journey. Between the black and the white lines, you reminded us to stay bold and imprint our black excellence throughout the pages of time. You shared my stories and events, even when I was too bad breed to get the story in on time. And you chuckled and said, stop acting shy. You showed up. You showed up for my daughter and always said you were going to get her a real steel pan from Trinidad because the play one wasn't good enough. I still chuckle at that one. You showed up with your family and always made sure to introduce them to others with elevated royal pride, even in between time. You showed up for the young writers, giving them space to speak beyond the margins. So many of them still shine as excellent journalists today. Thank you for showing up. When I asked you to cover the stories of young upcoming artists and the youths, even though you nudged me to write it myself, as soon as I introduced you to them, you were on it. I could send them to the office and you never forgot an appointment or were late on the scene. Just this year, I asked you, why did you refuse to be highlighted and recognized as a change maker? I always felt you deserved. You said, I haven't done anything. I'm not the one who made an impact. The paper is the catalyst. That is the one time you were firm with me, and I agreed to disagree. Nevertheless, you still showed on behalf of community contact, the only way you would have it. Now I truly understand what you really meant and stood for. It was about showing up for the community. It was about the legacy of a village. You always showed up for Montreal, for them, for me, for us. Thank you for showing up with a smile, silent on your feet, but loud with your words. I miss you bad. So long, Uncle E, until we meet again. May your words echo throughout time. May his peace be with you till we meet again.
Missed the Minister Christopher Skeet. Will you please come forward?
My deepest and sincere condolences to the family. When I think of Egbert, I think of a lot of things. I think community contact. And when I look at you, I see community contact. Egbert wanted to create a newspaper that was to speak to us. This unique experience that it is to be Black, English speaking, and West Indian in Quebec. Not an easy thing. Not an easy thing. We were talking before about black excellence. Sure, black excellence describes Egbert. Other people said even white excellence. Yeah, white excellence too. But I would dare to say Quebec excellence. I think Egbert represents everything that is beautiful about Quebec. And I wanted to be here to look at the family and to tell you that Egbert was a Quebecer. And we should all be very proud of that. I'm a Quebecer. I'm a Quebecer. My father was born in Tunapuna. My father came to Quebec much like Egbert did. And I went to Concordia, studied political science. He studied journalism. He minored in political science. But just like him, I found my path through higher education. So I'm here because of Egbert, because of people like Egbert and this community that trailblazed this path for me. I am a minister in the government of Quebec, something that a lot of us did not foresee. And I owe it to people like Egbert. Egbert was also a father to a son. As a son, look what your father did. That doesn't go away. He brought us together, and he continues to bring us together. And before I go, I wanted to make a small announcement. I will be giving $5,000 for community contact. As the Minister for the Economy, my goal with that $5,000 is going to be to support black businesses who want to advertise. I will let Community Contact tell me who we need to help out, and that money will go to serve black businesses that want to advertise in Community Contact. But I would also, with the family's permission, bestow another honor that I am allowed to have as an elected official. Everybody who is an elected official in Quebec has the ability to grant a medal. It is the National Assembly Medal. I would like to honor Egbert. I would like to posthumously honor Egbert with the National Assembly Award, and I will be in contact with the family to give it to you in person, and I would love a chance to sit down with you guys and discuss and talk about Egbert a little bit more. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the gift of this father, this brother, this husband to the community, and thank you all for honoring our dear Egbert. Thank you for...
Hello, everybody. I'm not Egbert Gay, so please give me a little bit of grace. Okay. From the very first time I met, I'm Jamira, I'm his daughter-in-law. From the very first time I met Egbert, I knew he was a man of great character and a force to be reckoned with. Actually, funny story. The first time I met Egbert, I was leaving Emar's house, now our house, early one morning. We had only been dating for a few months and I hadn't been introduced to his family yet. Standing on the sidewalk was a tall man eating a chicken leg. The bone was sticking out of his mouth, like actually it was out of his mouth. Emar said, "That's my dad." I was mortified. He walked right up to me, stuck out his greasy chicken hand, a huge smile on his face, and said, "Hello, I'm Egbert Gay," in his warm, deep voice. I shook his hand. I said, "Hi, I'm Jamira," and I ran away as quickly as I could. I was late for work, so I kissed Emar goodbye and ran to my car. I always remember the smile Egbert had on his face that morning. He probably thought it was hilarious that I was so embarrassed. But it wasn't just that. You could tell that he was so excited to finally meet this girl his son was dating and talking about. Little did I know, I had just met a legend. A pillar of the community. The Egbert Gay, my father-in-law. I know that many of you will come up here and talk about the legend that was Egbert Gay. But I would like to bring it back to the basics and talk about what an amazing brother, husband, father, father-in-law, and now grandfather that was and always will be Egbert Gay. From day one, Egbert embraced me as his home. He always supported Emar and I, despite how different our backgrounds were. He was our cheerleader, our champion, always rooting for us, pushing us to be better together and apart. He constantly harassed us about having a baby. Every day. To which I would reply, "Talk to your son." So it was only fitting that he was the first to know when Emar was going to propose. The first to know when I was pregnant, even before I did. We were in an elevator, I got dizzy, and he turned to me and he said, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "There's no way." And the first to know we were having a boy, even when we were told we were having a girl. But that's a story for another day. I always say I didn't just fall in love with Emar. I fell in love with his family, and Egbert was a huge part of that. To me, he wasn't Egbert Gay, he was Dad. I'm going to miss his hugs, his smile, the way he said my name, D. Jamira. The way he answered the phone, hearing him play pan, the banana pancakes, oh, I'm gonna miss those. His famous coconut bread, and the list goes on and on. Egbert was a devoted husband, father, brother, and he was really looking forward to meeting his first grandchild. But I know they've met. His greatest accomplishment was his family and the lasting impact he had on the community. His big heart encompassed all he met. At our wedding, he looked around the hall and said, "All I see is family." His legacy will forever live on through his son, grandson, and all those whose lives he's touched. I would like to thank everyone for coming together and supporting us during this time. But most importantly, I would like everyone to know, with the help of family, friends, and the community, his legacy will live on. The Montreal Community Contact will live on. We might need a little time to regroup, but this is not the end of Egbert Gay, and our son is named after Egbert. His legacy will live on through Malachi Egbert Corion Mitchell.